I got zapped into the universe of a cheesy corporate thriller, cast as the ultimate doormat to the Ice Queen CEO, Isabella Vance. Just as I was getting ready to play my part, get dumped, and cash out, I realized something wild. Isabella, the story's designated villainess, could hear my every thought. Suddenly, things got a lot more interesting. On the outside, I was the perfect, pathetic devotee. On the inside, I was a one-man demolition crew, aiming for a Best Actor award in the category of split personality. In the original book, I was a hopeless simp, catering to Isabella's every whim. My reward was being used as a stepping stone for the novel's hero, Caleb Blackwood, before being tossed aside and left for dead. Isabella didn't fare much better. She was destined to lose everything in her battle with Caleb, ending up broken and alone. He was the golden boy, the self-righteous hypocrite who would climb to the top on our backs. My game plan was simple. Play the part of the devoted lapdog, stick it out until she inevitably breaks off our engagement, take the massive buyout from my family, and disappear to a life of blissful obscurity. But my fiancée, the one with a backstage pass to my brain, started looking at me differently. Not only did she derail the plot, she started playing along with my internal monologue, turning the novel's golden boy protagonist into her personal chew toy. The whole story went completely off the rails. Isabella, I brought you that oat milk latte you love. Still warm. I held up a small paper bag. A smile I hoped was equal parts sincere and pathetic plastered on my face as I stood outside her office. The door was expensive frosted glass, and through it, I could see her silhouette, a vague but unmistakably cold outline. God, this simp routine is soul-crushing. Me, Ethan Hayes, a perfectly good 21st century man, stuck in this cliché-ridden business novel as the hero's first stepping stone, the ultimate sidekick simp who shares my name. I had to get up at 6, drive halfway across New York from my place in Brooklyn to her Midtown office, all for a cup of coffee she supposedly loves. The kicker? The book says she hates oat milk lattes. She just gets off on the power trip, the feeling of having someone at her beck and call. Figures. I held the smile, mentally cursing the author for the 1,000th time. The door opened. Isabella Vance stood there, framed in the doorway. She wore a tailored white pantsuit, her long dark hair pulled back in a severe bun that showed off her flawless forehead and the elegant curve of her neck. Her face, famous in the business world for being an Arctic landscape, was completely devoid of expression. She took the paper bag from me, her fingers brushing against mine for a split second. Damn, she's cold. Is this woman even warm-blooded? No wonder the book painted her as the evil witch. She radiates a powerful don't-touch-me field. I have to admit, though, she's a 10. That face, that figure. You could make a statue of her, and it would probably appreciate in value. My mind was wandering, but Isabella's movement paused. She held the bag, but instead of turning back in her office like she usually did, she looked at me. Her gaze lingered for a full 3 seconds. It was weird. Not disgust, not impatience. It was more like she was studying a newly discovered species. Is there something else? She asked, her voice as cool and crisp as her appearance, like shattered ice. No, nothing. I shook my head, snapping back into character. Just make sure you drink it while it's hot. I won't bother you anymore. Get out, clock out for the day. Only 3 more months of this. Then the hero, Caleb Blackwood, makes his grand entrance, and she'll kick me to the curb. I'll take the family's generous sorry it didn't work out check, buy a house on the coast in Maine, get a couple of dogs, name one author and the other editor, and live the dream. I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. Wait. My body went rigid. A knot of dread formed in my stomach. What the hell? This isn't in the script. Right now, she's supposed to toss the latte in the trash and tell me to get lost. Why is she stopping me? Did I overact? Did she see through the facade? I turned back, forcing the fawning smile onto my face again. Isabella, is there anything else you need? Isabella didn't look at me. She glanced down at the coffee in her hand. Then, right in front of me, she pushed the straw through the lid and took a sip. I froze. She drank it? The woman who, in the novel, poured out hundreds of my breakfast offerings, actually drank it. Holy crap. What is happening? Did hell freeze over? Did I accidentally put a love potion in it? No. I'm just a regular guy who got zapped into a book I don't know witchcraft. Unless, a ridiculous thought sparked in my mind. After a sip, Isabella's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. She clearly didn't like the taste, but she placed the cup on her desk instead of in the trash. She looked up, her gaze even more intense than before. You, she started to say something, then stopped. You what? Spit it out. You're killing the audience here. Could she actually be hearing my thoughts? No way, that's too crazy. This is a corporate thriller, not a fantasy novel. Why would the villainess get a superpower? To test my theory, I decided to take a risk. I kept my expression adoringly lovesick, but in my head I let it rip. That white pantsuit looks amazing on you, Miss Vance, but the collar's a little crooked. It's driving my OCD crazy. I have to fight the urge to reach out and fix it. The moment the thought formed, Isabella's right hand twitched, moving instinctively toward her collar. She caught herself almost immediately and lowered it, but I saw the motion, clear as day. My mind was reeling, but my face remained a perfect mask of devotion. Let's try again. Her eyelashes are so long. Wait, did one just fall on her cheek? Right on her left cheekbone. Isabella's body stiffened again. This time, she didn't move, but her eyes darted slightly, and a tiny muscle in her left cheek jumped. She was fighting it. She was actively resisting the urge to touch her face. I got it. I got all. This was huge. This Ice Queen CEO, this supposed villainess, could actually hear my thoughts. In that instant, my brain went from a complete system crash to a full reboot, then immediately overclocked its CPU. Panic? A little. I mean, my entire playbook was wide open. But mostly, I felt a strange, exhilarating thrill. It was like playing a video game with God mode enabled, only to discover one of the top-level NPCs was also hacking and could see your mouse cursor. This game just went from single-player to multiplayer, and it felt like we were on opposite teams. No, wait. Judging by her reaction, maybe not. Okay, Ethan, calm down. This is a crisis, but it's also an opportunity. If she can hear my thoughts, I have to change up my sim performance. It can't just be surface level anymore. It has to be layered, nuanced. I have to make her believe, deep down, that I really am that pathetic lapdog. If she believes it, I'm safe. The second Kayla Blackwood shows up, she'll dump me like yesterday's garbage. The plan remains the same. I looked at Isabella, my expression shifting seamlessly from infatuated to obsessed. I stretched my lips into a carefully calibrated smile, eager to please but not greasy. You look beautiful today, Isabella, I said, my voice soft, laced with a bit of cautious vulnerability. Isabella's posture seemed to relax slightly. She probably thought my weird internal monologue was just a fluke, that this pathetic man in front of her was the real Ethan Hayes. The Ice Queen was back. She picked up the latte she hated, turned back to her desk, and tossed over her shoulder. You can go now. Right, of course. I nodded eagerly and practically fled. Yes, quitting time. Time to go home and play some video games. That little test was intense. I need to debrief with myself. From this day forward, call me a contender for Best Actor. My stage is Isabella Vance's world, and she's my one-woman audience. I had one foot out the door. Come back. I nearly tripped over my own feet. Jesus, what now? Can't a guy catch a break? My heart can't take this much suspense. I'm going to have a stress-induced aneurysm. I turned around, a pained smile on my face. Isabella. She was sitting in her massive executive chair, her fingers steepled on the desk, studying me with a look of intense scrutiny. Are you bored? Huh. I was caught off guard. I mean, she paused, choosing her words carefully. If you have nothing better to do, you could work here. At the company. What? Work here? Is she kidding me? As her fiancé, I'm a walking joke in this company. In the book, I beg her to let me work here, and she shot me down every single time. And now she's offering me a job. What is this woman up to? She wants to keep me under her thumb, so she can listen to my thoughts 24/7? What a conniving, evil genius. She wants to work me to death? Not a chance. My face immediately lit up with a look of pure, unadulterated joy. My voice trembled. Oh, really? Isabella, you let me come work for you? I'm so happy. I'll do anything. Make coffee, file papers, clean the floors, anything. Isabella watched my over-the-top performance, and a flicker of annoyance crossed her face. Yeah, I definitely saw that. It was annoyance. Huh. Checkmate. You want me to work? I'll defeat you with your own weapon. I'll show you what a truly useless but dedicated simp can do. You'll be begging me to leave within 3 days. Isabella was silent. The only sound in the room was the hum of the central air. I could feel her processing my chaotic inner monologue. After a solid 30 seconds, she spoke, her voice flat and unreadable. My executive assistant position is open. Report to HR tomorrow. The smile froze on my face. Assistant? Her assistant. Doesn't that mean being by her side 24 hours a day? You've got to be kidding me. This is insane. My simple 9-to-5 simp routine just turned into a 24/7 gig. My beach house, my dogs, my early retirement. It's all gone up in smoke. Isabella Vance, you are a monster. A capitalist succubus. A vampire. My inner voice was screaming, but the words that came out of my mouth were so sweet they could give you a cavity. Yes, I'll be here first thing in the morning. Thank you, Isabella. You're too good to me. With that, I gave her a bow so deep I nearly folded in half, then bolted out of there like my life depended on it. If I stayed a second longer, I'd either be driven insane by her or die from the sheer effort of my own acting. I didn't see it, but after I left, the woman in the office, who had been ramrod straight the entire time, finally slumped back in her chair. She picked up the now lukewarm latte, took another sip, and looked at the empty doorway. A tiny, involuntary smile touched the corner of her lips. Her office was soundproof, so she couldn't hear my muffled cry of despair from the hallway. I'm so screwed. The next day, dressed in a brand new but slightly cheap-looking suit, I showed up on time on the top floor of Vance Industries, right outside the CEO's office. I had no choice. In the book, Ethan Hayes had terrible taste. To avoid breaking character, I had to wear this suit that made me look like a desperate real estate agent. Isabella's secretary, a sharp woman named Linda, looked like she'd seen a ghost when she saw me. Mr. Hayes. Well, if it isn't Linda. In the book, she gave me more side-eye than anyone. Behind my back, she called me the CEO's personal chewing gum. But that Mr. Hayes sounded almost respectful. Isabella must have given her a heads up. I gave her a warm smile. Hi, I'm a new executive assistant, Ethan Hayes. Linda's mouth dropped open, but years of professional training kicked in. Her expression smoothed into a corporate-approved fake smile. Ms. Vance is expecting you. Isabella was reading a file and didn't even look up. Linda, showing the ropes. Yes, Ms. Vance. Great. She's already treating me like a pack mule. Fine by me. You just wait. Today, you're going to witness the birth of a legend. The laziest man in corporate America. For the rest of the morning, I gave a masterclass in the art of being utterly useless. Making copies, I managed to jam the machine so badly with A4 paper that it had to be taken offline for repairs. Organizing files, I sorted a major contract by page number in reverse order, nearly giving the head of the legal department a heart attack. Making coffee, I mistook the salt for sugar and served Isabella a lovely sea salt latte. Isabella took one sip, then looked at me, her face a perfect, emotionless mask. The air in the office crackled with tension. Here it comes. She's going to lose it. Yell at me. Humiliate me. Tell me to get out. I'm ready to burst into tears and sob. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to do something nice for you. I braced myself for the verbal assault, my lines rehearsed. But Isabella just set the cup down and said, flatly, make it again. I was stunned. What? That's it? That's not right. According to her character profile, she should have thrown the coffee in my face and called me a worthless idiot. Why is she so calm? As if hearing my confusion, Isabella looked up, her gaze piercing. If I throw it on you, who's going to clean my carpet? Of course. She's worried about her six-figure, hand-woven Persian rug. The cold, calculating heart of a true capitalist. I get it now. I scurried away to make a new cup of coffee. By lunchtime, I was exhausted from my efforts to be incompetent, but the pink slip I was hoping for never came. Isabella was like an unfeeling machine. No matter what I screwed up, she just calmly told me to do it over without a hint of wanting to fire me. I started to question everything. What's her game? Does she get some kind of sick pleasure out of watching me fail? What kind of twisted hobby is that? Finding joy in my misery? She's more of a villain than the book gave her credit for. During the lunch break, Isabella had a meeting with a client. As a new assistant, I had to tag along. We had just reached the underground parking garage when a white Maserati pulled up in front of us. The door opened, and a handsome man in a crisp white suit stepped out, a gentle smile on his face. It was him, the man, the myth, the legend. The novel's hero, Caleb Blackwood. Speak of the devil. Look at this guy's flashy entrance, that smug smile, that impossibly white suit. I just want to plant my size 11 shoe right in the middle of it and see if it leave a mark. My mind was a whirlwind of insults, but my face instantly morphed into an expression of alarm and hostility. It was the standard reaction for a simp seeing his romantic rival. Isabella. Caleb ignored me completely, walking straight toward her, his voice smooth as silk. What a coincidence. You're eating here too. Coincidence, my ass. The book says you bribed her secretary, Linda. You know her entire schedule. You've probably been lurking down here for half an hour. What a phony. Isabella's expression didn't change. She just gave a non-committal Caleb's gaze finally fell on me. A flicker of contempt crossed his eyes, so fast it was almost invisible, quickly replaced by a look of polite surprise. You must be Ethan Hayes? It's a pleasure. I'm Caleb Blackwood, VP at Apex Holdings. He extended his hand. Of course I knew who he was. This was the man who was supposed to build his empire on my and Isabella's ashes. Oh, look at him putting on a show. All charm and class on the outside, but a snake underneath. I'm not shaking that hand. I don't know where it's been. I didn't take his hand. Instead, I shrank back behind Isabella, putting on my best impression of a coward intimidated by his alpha male presence. Caleb's hand hung awkwardly in the air. A crack appeared in his perfect smile. According to the script, Isabella should now be annoyed by my lack of social grace, shoot me a warning look, and then smooth things over with Caleb. But today, Isabella just stared at Caleb, her expression glacial, and said nothing. The silence was deafening. Caleb's face started to flush. Ha ha. Yes. Well played, Isabella. That's how you handle him. Let him squirm. Look at his face, it's turning green. His white suit just makes him look like a stalk of celery. Just as I was celebrating internally, Isabella spoke. She looked at Caleb and said, Are you attached to that hand? Caleb blinked. What? Isabella's gaze dropped to his outstretched hand, her voice dropping several degrees. My assistant doesn't like physical contact. Keep your hand out there, and I'll consider it harassment. Caleb's face went from green to a deep shade of purple. He snatched his hand back as if he'd been electrocuted. Hiding behind Isabella, my jaw hit the floor. Holy crap, what just happened? Isabella actually stood up for me? And in such a savage way. Shouldn't she be embarrassed by me right now? Could it be my inner monologue strategy is working? Is she protecting me? A wild, audacious idea started to take root in my mind. Caleb's face was a mess of conflicting emotions. He'd probably never been shut down so brutally by Isabella before. Isabella, you've misunderstood. I was just trying to be friendly with Mr. Hayes, he stammered, trying to salvage some dignity. Isabella didn't even bother to respond. She simply walked around him and headed for her car. I followed close behind, and as I passed Caleb, I shot him a timid glance before quickly looking down. Yes, this is amazing. Watching this hypocrite get owned is more satisfying than a cold beer on a hot day. Isabella is on fire today. 10 points for Vance. I could feel Caleb's venomous glare burning a hole in my back. Once in the car, Isabella started the engine, and we pulled smoothly out of the garage. The car was silent, except for the soft whoosh of the air conditioning. I sat in the passenger seat, sneaking glances at her out of the corner of my eye. Her profile was perfect, like something carved from marble. But her expression was still the same impenetrable mask of ice. She defends me like a lioness 1 minute, and then pretends I don't exist the next. Women are a mystery. Still, when she said my assistant, it sounded pretty good. Huh! As if sensing my stare, she spoke without turning her head. Seatbelt. I realized in my excitement, I'd forgotten to buckle up. I fumbled with the belt, my mind still replaying the scene in the garage. Speaking of Caleb, his next move should be at that charity gala tonight. In the book, he gets together with some of Isabella's relatives on the board, uses a failing project to challenge her leadership, and forces her to give up some of her power. And me, the idiot simp, I tried to defend her and got publicly humiliated for it, becoming the laughingstock of the whole event. My stupid stunt distracted Isabella, making her lose focus. Caleb seized the opportunity and wrestled control of the project from her. A project she poured her heart and soul into for a year to prove herself. Tonight, I can't be that stupid again. I have to play this differently. I can't just avoid dragging her down. I have to help her. We're allies now, after all. If she goes down, Caleb will come after me next, and my dream of a quiet life goes up in smoke. I was deep in thought as Isabella pulled up in front of a high-end restaurant. The meal itself was uneventful. It was a business lunch, so my role as the useless assistant was to sit there and be invisible. Halfway through, Isabella got a call from her secretary, Linda. Ms. Vance, Mr. Bishop from the board will also be at the gala tonight, and he wants to... Isabella cut her off. I know. She hung up. Her expression darkened. Walter Bishop? He's one of the old guard at Vance Industries, one of her father's contemporaries. Looks like Caleb has already won him over. Tonight's gala is going to be a minefield. Isabella's in a tough spot. After her father died, she, a young woman, took over this massive corporation. She's got relatives on the board watching her like hawks and predators like Caleb circling. The book didn't just make her lose for no reason. I looked at her, at the deep furrow in her brow, and I felt a pang of sympathy. Well, hold on, Ethan. You're here to act, not to empathize. Don't forget the end game, retirement. After lunch, Isabella dropped me off at the office building. Be here at 7 to pick me up, she said, and then headed upstairs. I watched her go, a mix of emotions churning inside me. At 7 o'clock sharp, I was back, dressed in a custom-tailored suit Isabella had sent over, holding the keys to her Bentley. Looking at my reflection, I had to admit the clothes really do make the man. Isabella had changed into an evening gown, a stunning black dress that made her skin look like porcelain and added a dangerous, smoldering edge to her usual coolness. Damn, a true femme fatale. No wonder Caleb is obsessed with getting his hands on her. It's a shame that in the book, such a brilliant woman ends up with such a tragic fate. I opened the car door for her, sighing internally. Isabella paused for a second before getting in, giving me a long, searching look. The charity gala was a glittering affair, packed with the city's elite. The moment Isabella and I walked in, all eyes were on us. Isabella was a natural showstopper. I was the awkward, out-of-place accessory clinging to her arm. I could feel the looks of judgment and disdain. Isn't that the useless kid from the Hayes family? What's he doing with Isabella Vance? I heard he's her fiancé. He's been chasing her for years. I guess persistence pays off. Please, he's just arm candy. That merger marriage is doomed to fail. Go on, laugh it up. The more you mock me, the more convincing my character becomes. I kept my head down, sticking close to Isabella, projecting an air of insecurity and unease. It wasn't long before Caleb appeared, a glass of champagne in hand. With him was a portly, middle-aged man, Walter Bishop, a director on the Vance Industries board. Isabella, you finally made it. Caleb's smile was as charming as ever, but his eyes shone with a smug, predatory light. Bishop adopted the tone of a concerned elder. Isabella, my dear, I hear you've been working on that new green energy project on the west side. It's good for young people to be ambitious, but you must know your limits. From what I've heard, that project is losing a fortune. The board is very concerned. And here we go. The main event has begun. This is it. The fat man makes the opening attack. Then Caleb swoops in to play the mediator, proposing a joint oversight committee, which is just a fancy way of getting his claws into the project. Once he's in, he'll use it as a foothold to start chipping away at Isabella's core business. Okay, Isabella, it's all on you now. In the book, this is where you panicked and they steamrolled you. I watched her, my heart pounding, but she wasn't panicking. Instead, she gently swirled the wine in her glass, a cold smirk playing on her lips. Walter, you're well informed, but the losses you're referring to are from last quarter's report. This quarter, the project has already turned a profit. Bishop was taken aback. Profit? Impossible. The reports you saw were provided by Mr. Blackwood, weren't they? Isabella cut him off, her gaze shifting to Caleb. Caleb's smile froze. Isabella raised her glass to the crowd that had gathered around them. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried, clear and sharp. Everyone, since we're on the topic, this is a perfect opportunity for an announcement. For our West Side Green Energy Project, we have successfully overcome the final technological hurdle and have reached a preliminary partnership agreement with Lumiere International, Europe's largest energy consortium. The contract will be signed next week. A wave of shock rippled through the room. Lumiere International? The industry giant. My God, Vance Industries is about to hit the big time. The color drained from Walter Bishop's face. He stared at Isabella, then at Caleb, in disbelief. Caleb looked even worse. He was glaring at Isabella, trying to find any sign that she was bluffing. Ha ha, brilliant. A total knockout punch. This woman is incredible. She managed to land a deal that big without anyone knowing. In the book, she failed. Did my presence here cause some kind of butterfly effect? Wait a second. Overcoming the technological hurdle? I remember the book mentioning that the key was a new catalyst formula invented by a reclusive old professor. Isabella sent people to see him several times, but he always threw them out. In the end, it was Caleb who tricked the old man into trusting him and got the formula. So how did Isabella get it this time? As I was trying to piece it together, Isabella's gaze suddenly fell on me. To the astonishment of everyone present, she walked over to my side and smoothly linked her arm through mine. And I also have my fiancé, Ethan Hayes, to thank for this. I went numb. Huh? Thank me? For what? For almost blowing up your office this morning? Isabella continued, her voice ringing with confidence. It was Ethan who gave me the idea. He told me that while the professor is eccentric, his one true passion is chess. And Ethan, as it turns out, is a tournament-level player. He spent 3 days and 3 nights playing chess with the professor, and in the end, earned his respect and convinced him to partner with us. The room was dead silent. Every single eye was on me, filled with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and awe. Caleb looked like he had just swallowed a bug. As for me, my brain had short-circuited. Me? A chess master? I can barely win a game of checkers. What's she talking about? She's throwing me to the wolves. It's over. My cover is blown. My carefully crafted image as a useless, talentless simp is ruined. I could feel my eyes starting to twitch. Isabella squeezed my arm gently, a silent command to play along. She leaned in, her voice a whisper only I could hear. Smile. I forced my lips into a rigid, painful grin that probably looked more like a grimace. On the ride home, I was practically melting into the passenger seat, completely drained. Tonight's events had gone so far off script, I couldn't even see the original plot anymore. How did you know that Professor liked chess? I finally asked, and why did you lie and say I could play? You just painted a giant target on my back. Caleb is going to want to kill me now. Isabella drove, her eyes fixed on the road. You said it. In your head. I forgot. She had a cheat code. I had been running through the plot in my head in her office the other day, and I must have mentioned the professor's hobby. But you can't just lie and say I can play chess. I was on the verge of a breakdown. What was the alternative, she countered. Should I have told him my fiancé can see the future because he's from another dimension where our lives are a work of fiction? I was speechless again. Well, she has a point. Can't exactly reveal the whole I'm in a book secret. But still, Caleb is going to look into it. He'll find out I can't play, and then the whole lie will fall apart. He won't, Isabella said with absolute certainty. He'll just assume you've been hiding your true talents all this time. A man so deeply in love that he was willing to pretend to be a fool for the woman he adores. I nearly choked. What is she even talking about? Her ability to rationalize this is terrifying. Since when am I a secret genius? The car pulled up in front of my family's mansion. I unbuckled my seatbelt, ready to escape. Tonight, Isabella said suddenly. I looked back at her. The car was dark, her face half hidden in shadows. Thank you, she said the words, then quickly turned her head, giving me nothing but her cold profile. I was stunned. That was the second time she had thanked me. The first time was because my thoughts helped her shut down Caleb. This time, it was because I had helped her land the deal and humiliate her enemies. This woman, maybe she's not so heartless after all. A strange warmth spread through my chest. You're welcome, I mumbled and got out of the car. I shut the door, and the Bentley disappeared into the night. I stood there for a long moment, one hand on my still-burning cheek. This was bad. I had a feeling my simp-for-hire script was about to be completely rewritten by me and this mind-reading woman. I showed up to work the next day with dark circles under my eyes. The information overload from the previous night had led to a severe case of insomnia. I looked at Isabella differently now. This wasn't just an NPC gaining self-awareness. This was an NPC stealing my cheat codes and then adding a bunch of secret genius stats to my character sheet without my permission. The moment I walked into the office, I could feel the change in the atmosphere. Everyone who passed me looked at me with a new kind of expression, a mix of curiosity and respect. Even Linda was cautious when she brought me my coffee. Mr. Hayes, how do you take it? Well, look at this. Overnight, I've gone from the chewing gum on the CEO's shoe to the prince consort. These people are so transparent. I walked into Isabella's office. She was on the phone, speaking fluent, confident English. A woman at the top of her game is seriously attractive. It's a tragedy that in the book, a brilliant mind like hers gets torn down by a snake like Caleb. Isabella hung up and looked at me. Dark circles, she stated. Yeah, didn't sleep well last night, I said, scratching my head. No kidding. Between the gala drama and my new identity as a chess prodigy, my nervous system is shot. Isabella didn't say anything else. She just opened a drawer, took out a small box, and tossed it to me. I fumbled to catch it. It was eye cream, a ridiculously expensive brand. Well, the capitalist is handing out perks. Is this hush money or a peace offering? Either way, I'll take it. I pocketed the cream and dutifully took my place behind her, ready to assume my assistant duties. What's on the agenda today? I asked. Today, Isabella said, your job is to do nothing. I blinked. What does that mean? What's her new angle? Yesterday, she worked me like a dog. Today, she wants me to be a paperweight. I'll never figure this woman out. Isabella seemed tired. She leaned back in her chair, closed her eyes, and rubbed her temples. I need to think. Quietly, she said softly. I understood. She needed to process everything that had happened in the last few days. And my existence. I shut my mouth, pulled up a chair in a quiet corner of the room, and began my official duties as a professional loafer. The office was peaceful. I watched the sunlight filter through the blinds, painting stripes of light on the floor. Isabella's eyes were closed, her long lashes casting shadows on her cheeks, softening the sharp edges of her face. I suddenly thought, this isn't so bad. No scheming, no plot to follow, just quiet. If it could always be like this, would that be so terrible? The thought scared me as soon as it appeared. Stop it, Ethan. Your goal is a house in Maine, a couple of dogs, early retirement. Don't let the capitalist's mind games get to you. As I was having my internal battle, Isabella opened her eyes. Her gaze was clear and focused. She had made a decision. Ethan, she said. Present. I sat up straight like a kid in school. We need to talk. She stood up, moved to the sitting area, and sat on the sofa, gesturing for me to join her. My stomach dropped. This felt like being called to the principal's office. Here we go. The big talk. Is she going to have me dissected for science? Or just quietly have me disappeared? I sat down opposite her, my body tense. When did it start? She asked. When did what start? I played dumb. Hearing your thoughts, she said, cutting straight to the point. I was silent. I couldn't answer that. I couldn't exactly say the moment I woke up in this universe. It doesn't matter, Isabella said, apparently not expecting an answer. What matters is this. Everything you've thought about the book, about the plot. Is it all true? I looked into her eyes. They were beautiful, but right now, they were filled with a searching intensity and a hint of vulnerability that I'd never seen before. No matter how strong she was still just a woman in her 20s. The realization that her life might be nothing more than a pre-written story, her fate already sealed, must have been terrifying. Against my better judgment, I nodded. Most of it, I said, but clearly the plot can be changed. Because of her, and because of me, Isabella's body relaxed, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Caleb, she said, her voice tight. In the end, how does he destroy Vance Industries? I hesitated. In the book, Caleb's methods were brutal. It wasn't just business. He dug up the truth about her father's car accident and forged evidence to frame Isabella for patricide, all to seize control of the company. It destroyed her reputation, broke her spirit, and drove her to a complete mental breakdown. It was too cruel. Can I tell her that? Can I tell her that the memory of her beloved father will be used as a weapon against her? That the family she fought so hard to protect would be the ones to hammer the final nail in her coffin? It would break her. My silence was all the answer she needed. Her face grew pale, but her eyes hardened. Tell me, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it held the unyielding strength of steel. I took a deep breath, and I told her everything. The original plot, Caleb's schemes, her tragic end. I spoke slowly, each word a heavy stone. With every sentence, the color drained further from her face. When I told her about being framed for her father's murder, about being betrayed by her own family, her hands began to tremble uncontrollably. I regretted it immediately. I reached out, wanting to offer some kind of comfort, to touch her shoulder. But my hand stopped halfway. What right did I have to comfort her? I was just an outsider, a guy trying to escape the story. Just then, Isabella looked up at me. There were no tears in her eyes, only a chilling cold and a terrifying, bottomless rage. I want him dead, she said. A shiver went down my spine. This is the real Isabella Vance. The queen who can stay calm in a crisis, who can plot her revenge even in defeat. The book just wore her down. It never broke her spirit. I'll help you, I said. The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. Wasn't I supposed to be aiming for a quiet life? Wasn't I supposed to be avoiding all this drama? But looking at this woman, broken but burning with a desire for vengeance, I couldn't bring myself to say no. Isabella looked at me, her expression unreadable. Why? Because I was stuck. Why? Because I have a soft spot for a damsel in distress? Because I feel sorry for you? Because I can't stand that hypocrite Caleb? No, it's none of those things. It's because we're in the same boat now. If you go down, I go down with you. And there goes my dream of a quiet retirement. I had found the perfect, self-serving excuse. Because we're allies, I said, my voice firm. Your enemy is my enemy. Helping you is helping myself. Isabella studied me for a long time. So long I thought she was going to see right through me. Then she smiled. It was a faint smile, like the first crack in a frozen lake, there and gone in an instant. Okay, she said. We're partners. She held out her hand. This time I didn't hesitate. I took her hand. It was still cool to the touch, but soft. Partners in crime, I said. Partners in crime, she replied. From that day on, Isabella Vance and I officially formed the Villain's Revenge Squad. We had one goal: take down the hero and rewrite our destinies. And my dream of a quiet, peaceful retirement seemed to drift further and further away. After we formed our alliance, my relationship with Isabella shifted into a new phase. We were no longer just simp and goddess or assistant and boss. We were teammates on a high-stakes mission. The only problem was the mission difficulty was set to hell, and our opponent was the chosen one, the guy with plot armor thicker than a tank. Isabella's decisiveness was astounding. The very next day, she set up a secret war room, which was really just a private lounge attached to her office. She dragged in a giant whiteboard and covered it with sticky notes, drawing complex webs of character connections and timelines. At the center of it all was Caleb Blackwood. According to you, Caleb's next move is to use a forged contract for overseas materials to create a cash flow crisis for us, Isabella said, circling a name on the board with a marker. He'll get this contract approved through the Deputy Director of Finance, a man named Mark Peterson. I leaned in a look. Nice, Isabella. You're a quick study. You already figure out Peterson is Caleb's man. In the book, you didn't discover the mole until after you'd already been burned. Isabella paused her writing and glanced back at me. Do you know of any other moles? I shook my head immediately. How would I know? The book wasn't an encyclopedia of corporate espionage. I only know the key players. But since you asked, I stroked my chin, pretending to be deep in thought. Usually, in these situations besides finance, the biggest vulnerabilities are in HR and procurement. You might want to run a check on the heads of those departments. Look at their recent bank statements. See if they've had any private dealings with Apex Holdings. Isabella didn't say anything. She just picked up her phone and sent a quick text to Linda. I knew she was already on it. This feeling of being treated as a human crystal ball was interesting. Okay, back to the contract, Isabella said, putting her phone down. Since we know it's coming, what's your plan? She was testing me. My plan? Obviously, we play along and set a trap. I cleared my throat and began my performance. I think we should pretend to fall for it. Sign the contract. Then, when it comes time to transfer the funds, we play some games. I laid out the plan that had been forming in my head, adding a few dramatic flourishes. The gist was this. We'd pretend to have a cash shortage and apply for a short-term bank loan, but we wouldn't actually touch the money. We let Caleb think we were on the ropes. When he rallied the other shareholders to force her out, we'd use our real capital to launch a hostile takeover of one of his subsidiary companies, one he'd have to mortgage to fund his attack on us. It was risky. Every step had to be perfect. When I finished, I looked at Isabella, my heart pounding. Is this too aggressive? If we screw this up, we could lose the whole company. But if you don't take big risks, you can't win big. Isabella listened, her face unreadable. She stared at the whiteboard, her fingers tapping a silent rhythm on the table. The office was quiet, the only sound our breathing. After what felt like an eternity, she looked up. Her eyes were shining with a light I'd never seen before. It was the look of a hunter, filled with excitement and ambition. "We'll do it," she said. "I'll work out the details. Your job is to continue playing your part." Mission accepted. I gave a mock salute. For the next week, I lived the corporate life I'd always dreamed of. I'd come into the office, drink coffee, read the news, scroll through my phone, and occasionally deliver a few cheesy, adoring lines to Isabella for show. Meanwhile, Isabella went into overdrive. She was in and out of meetings all day, taking calls, signing documents. Several times, I saw her in the office late at night, standing in front of the whiteboard, running through the plan over and over again. I started to feel a little guilty. We're supposed to be allies. She's in there fighting a war, and I'm out here goofing off. Maybe I should offer to help. Then again, what could I do? I can barely make copies. The best way I can help is by staying out of her way. One afternoon, I was about to order lunch when Isabella came out of her office. She looked pale and exhausted. "Let's go." "Lunch," she said. "Huh? Well, you're going out again. My treat." She took me to an exclusive, reservation-only spot downtown that looked ridiculously expensive. After we were seated, she pushed the menu toward me. "Order whatever you want." I glanced at the prices and my hand started to shake. Holy crap. One dish here costs more than my monthly rent. These capitalists and their decadent lifestyles. But hey, if someone else is paying, who am I to refuse? I shamelessly ordered 3 of the most expensive items on the menu. Isabella watched me, a hint of amusement in her eyes. "You," she started to say. "Go on, say it. Call me a country bumpkin. Say I've never had a decent meal in my life. I don't care my skin is thick. I'm glad you have an appetite," was what she said instead. When the food arrived, I dug in like a man starved. Isabella, however, barely touched her food. "You're not eating?" I asked, my mouth full of seared scallops. "No appetite. That's not good. You need your strength." I picked up a piece of braised short rib and placed it in her bowl. "This is amazing. Try it. You need the energy." Isabella stared at the piece of meat in her bowl, completely still. It was only then that I realized what I had done. The gesture was too natural, too familiar. It wasn't something a simp would do for his goddess. It was something a boyfriend would do for his girlfriend. Crap, I broke character. I was about to say something to cover my tracks, but to my surprise, Isabella picked up the short rib and took a small, delicate bite. After she swallowed, she looked at me and said, "Thank you." That was the 3rd time she had thanked me. My heart, for some reason, skipped a beat. After the meal, Isabella went to pay the bill. She opened her wallet, only to find it empty. She froze. "Where are my cards?" She searched her entire purse, but they were gone. I was stunned. You're kidding me. The all-powerful CEO goes out for a fancy lunch and forgets her wallet? This is straight out of a bad romance novel. Oh, wait, I remember this. This was in the book. She was overworked and left her wallet at the office. Then Caleb Blackwood swoops in like Prince Charming, pays the bill for her, and subtly mocks me for being a useless tag-along. Isabella was annoyed, but it put her in his debt. I instinctively glanced toward the door. And sure enough, there he was, Caleb Blackwood, in his signature white suit, walking toward our table. He wore a smug smile that said, "Everything is going according to plan." Isabella's expression hardened. Damn it, he gets to be the hero again. What do we do? I don't have enough money on me to cover this. I was panicking internally. Just as Caleb was about to reach our table, ready to deliver his damsel in distress line, Isabella turned to me, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Then she pulled something out of her pocket and pressed it into my hand. It was a black credit card. "Use mine," she said. I looked down. It wasn't just any card. It was the one she had tossed on my desk this morning when I came in. At the time, my internal monologue had been, "Another card? Is she trying to put me on retainer?" Yes, rich lady, I am available for all your sugar baby needs. I had just stuffed it in my pocket without a second thought, but now. I held the card, looked at Caleb's shocked face, then back at Isabella, who was the picture of calm. I suddenly understood. This was a setup. She knew Caleb would be here. She had planned this whole thing, and I was the tool she was going to use to wipe that smug look off his face. I walked to the front desk, and under the astonished gaze of Caleb and everyone else in the restaurant, I handed the card to the cashier. We'll be paying with this. In that moment, I felt like the coolest man on the planet. As we left the restaurant, Caleb's face was thunderous. He probably couldn't figure out how the script had gone wrong yet again. Isabella, I had no idea you were so generous with Mr. Hayes, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, giving him his own supplementary card. Isabella linked her arm through mine again, her tone casual. He's my fiancé. What's mine is his, isn't it? Ooh, nice. A public declaration of ownership. Caleb's face is getting even greener. It looks like a freshly painted wall. I puffed out my chest, playing the part of the smug victor perfectly. I could hear Caleb's knuckles crack as he clenched his fists. It seems I overstepped. He ground out through his teeth, then turned and stormed off. Watching his pathetic retreat, I felt a wave of pure satisfaction. Nice one, I whispered to Isabella, winking. I have to hand it to you. For an ice queen, you're a hell of an actress. Isabella glanced at me, saying nothing, but the faint smile playing on her lips told me she was enjoying this as much as I was. In the following days, everything went according to our plan. Peterson, the mole, submitted the fraudulent contract. Isabella, after some feigned hesitation, signed it. Caleb, thinking his plan was a success, began secretly rallying the board members, preparing for his big move at the end-of-month meeting. On the surface, everything was calm, but I knew it was the quiet before the storm. I used the downtime to mentally review the original novel's plot, searching for any details we might have missed. And I found something big. This isn't right. In the book, before the board meeting, there's another major event. Isabella gets kidnapped by a business rival. Caleb tries to play the hero again. He doesn't quite succeed, but Isabella gets injured in the process, misses the board meeting, and Caleb uses her absence to seize power. This kidnapping, is it still going to happen? I told Isabella my concerns. After she heard me out, her brow furrowed. A business rival? You mean Donovan Enterprises? Yeah, that's them, I nodded. In the book, it's Leo Donovan, the family's notoriously spoiled second son. He had a thing for you. You shot him down, and he's been holding a grudge ever since. Isabella's face grew grim. Leo, he has been in contact with Caleb recently. Well, there it is. Those two scumbags getting together can't mean anything good. So what's your plan? I asked her. Beef up your security? It won't work. Isabella shook her head. A planned attack is almost impossible to defend against. They'll find a way. So what? We just wait for it to happen. I was getting anxious. If you actually get kidnapped, our whole plan goes down the drain. Isabella looked at me, a strange light in her eyes. What if, she said slowly, we use this kidnapping to our advantage? I stared at her. Use the kidnapping? This woman's mind is a terrifying place. Who gets kidnapped and thinks, how can I leverage this for my own gain? But it's not a bad idea. If we could play along and somehow drag Caleb into it, get him and Leo to turn on each other. A bold, dangerous plan began to form in my mind. Isabella and I spent the entire afternoon in her office, huddled in front of the whiteboard. We came up with a plan that was certifiably insane. Isabella would let herself get kidnapped. Then, I would leak false information, sending Caleb to the wrong location to rescue her. Meanwhile, Isabella would try to get concrete evidence of Leo and Caleb's collusion. Finally, we'd call the police and let them bust everyone. The plan was incredibly high risk. The biggest variable was Isabella's safety. Are you sure about this? I looked at her, a knot of anxiety in my stomach. This is too dangerous. No risk, no reward. Isabella's eyes were firm as stone. This is our only chance to take both of them down at once. I looked at her, speechless. This woman was even more ruthless and daring than I had ever imagined. The plan was set for 3 days' time. On that day, Isabella would go to inspect an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. It was Donovan property in the same location where she was kidnapped in the book. The 3 days passed in a blur. Before she left, Isabella gave me a miniature GPS tracker and a recording pen. If you don't hear from me by 8 p.m., you initiate the backup plan, she said. The backup plan was to call the police directly. I watched her get in her car and drive off alone toward that dangerous, unknown place, and my heart leaped into my throat. Please be careful, Isabella. I sat in the office, unable to focus. The minutes crawled by like hours. I kept checking my phone, checking my watch. At 5 p.m., Isabella's phone went dead. I knew it had happened. Forcing myself to stay calm, I made the call just as we had planned. The man on the other end was a private investigator I had hired. Leak the information. Tell them Leo Donovan has Isabella Vance. He's holding her in warehouse number 2 on the west side. Got it. Now all I could do was wait. Wait for Caleb to take the bait. Wait for a signal from Isabella. But the hours ticked by. The sky outside grew dark. 7 o'clock. 7:30. 7:50. Still no word from Isabella. My heart sank. Something's wrong. Something has gone horribly wrong. The plan failed. Did that idiot Leo do something to her? Or did Caleb not fall for the trap? I can't wait any longer. I grabbed my car keys and sprinted out of the office. I wasn't going to let her face this alone. I was dialing the private investigator as I drove. Find her. I roared into the phone. Find out where Isabella is right now. Use every contact you have. 15 minutes later, he called back. Mr. Hayes, I found her. Ms. Vance isn't at the West Side warehouse. She's in a shipping container at the Eastern docks. And Caleb Blackwood is there too. My mind went blank. Caleb was there. He didn't go to the West Side. How did he know the real location? Our plan was leaked. A mole. There's another mole in the company. But there was no time to think about that now. Isabella, you idiot. I told you not to go. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, the car shooting forward like an arrow, heading for the Eastern docks. When I got there, the scene was chaos. Several shipping containers were on fire, thick black smoke billowing into the night sky. And then I saw her. Isabella was being dragged out of a container by Caleb. Her face was smudged with soot, and there was blood on her arm. Behind them, Leo Donovan and his men were in a standoff with Caleb's guys. Caleb, you son of a bitch, you double-crossed me. Leo screamed, pointing a finger at Caleb. Caleb just laughed. You idiot. Did you really think I'd partner with you? Isabella is mine, and so is her company. He started to drag Isabella toward his car. She fought back, but she was injured and no match for him. Watching this, a blind rage washed over me. I don't know where I got the courage, but I grabbed a crowbar from a nearby toolkit and charged. Let her go, I yelled. Everyone froze, stunned by my sudden appearance. Caleb turned, saw me, and a look of contemptuous amusement spread across his face. Ethan, you came all the way out here to play hero. I said, let her go. My vision was tinged with red. I swung the crowbar wildly. I was no fighter. It was pure adrenaline. Caleb dodged my clumsy attack with ease, then drove his foot into my stomach. I flew backward, slamming into the side of a shipping container. I felt something crack. Pathetic Caleb spat. See me get hurt. Isabella went berserk. She twisted around and sank her teeth into Caleb's arm. He cried out in pain, his grip loosening for a second. Isabella scrambled away from him and ran to my side. Ethan, are you okay? She cried, helping me up, her voice choked with tears. I'm fine. I coughed, tasting blood. The world was starting to spin. Damn, that hurts. This was a bad idea. Caleb's face was a mask of fury. He never expected Isabella to be so fiercely protective of me. Just then, the wail of sirens cut through the night. The cops were here. Caleb and Leo's faces went pale. They knew it was over. I looked at Isabella's frantic, terrified face. In her eyes, reflecting the firelight, I saw my own battered, pathetic self. I managed a weak grin. Stupid woman. At least, I wasn't useless. And with that final thought, the world went black. I woke up to the smell of antiseptic and the feeling of N4 in my arm. I was in hospital. I tried to move and groaned. My entire body felt like it had been put through a meat grinder. You're awake. A familiar voice. I turned my head and saw Isabella. She was wearing clean clothes, but the exhaustion and worry on her face were impossible to hide. Her arm was bandaged. How long? Was I out? My voice was a dry rasp. A day and a night. she said, pouring me a glass of water and wetting my lips with a cotton swab. The doctor said you have a minor concussion and 2 cracked ribs. You need a rest. I gave a weak, pained smile. Caleb and Leo? They're in custody. Isabella's voice was calm. Kidnapping, assault, corporate espionage. They'll be gone for a long time. So, we won. Yes, she said softly. We won. A long breath. I didn't know. I was holding escaped my lungs. Good. We won. My quiet life was safe. The hospital room fell silent. Isabella just sat by my bed, watching me. Her expression was complex. I saw gratitude, concern, and something else I couldn't quite decipher. Her stare was making me uncomfortable. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a handsome, beaten-up hero before? Speaking of which, this whole ordeal cost me. I got my ass kicked and almost died. Isabella, you owe me big time. What do you want as compensation? Isabella asked suddenly. I choked. Right? She can hear me. Ahem. I clear my throat, embarrassed. I was just kidding. We're allies. It's what we do. I'm not kidding, she said, her gaze serious. Tell me what you want. Money? A house? Or something else? Something else? Like what? You gift wrap with a bow. Whoa, Ethan, you animal. The woman just survived a kidnapping, and that's where your mind goes? My face flushed a deep red. Seeing my blush, the corner of Isabella's mouth twitched into a tiny smile. Why did you come? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. The plan had failed. You could have stayed safe and just waited for the police. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't tell her it was a moment of blind panic that I hadn't thought at all. That wouldn't fit my carefully constructed, selfish pragmatist persona. Because I was scared something would happen to you, you idiot. If you had gotten seriously hurt, winning against Caleb would have meant nothing. I would have felt guilty for the rest of my life. The thoughts just tumbled out, unfiltered. I immediately regretted them. That was way too intimate. Isabella stared at me, her eyes widening. Then, slowly, a sheen of moisture welled up in them. It was the first time I'd ever seen this Ice Queen look so vulnerable. Then, to my utter shock, she leaned down, closer and closer. Her face filled my vision. I could smell the faint, clean scent of her perfume, see her eyelashes trembling slightly. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would break free. What is she? What is she doing? Is she going to kiss me? We're in a hospital, in broad daylight. I'm an injured man. As my mind spiraled, I felt a soft, warm pressure on my lips. It was light, gentle, like the brush of a feather. And then it was gone. Isabella straightened up, a faint blush on her cheeks, but her eyes were shining. That, she said, her voice trembling just a little, was the down payment. I was completely, utterly dumbfounded. My brain was a dial tone, my lips still tingling from the ghost of her touch. For the next few days, I was treated like a king. Isabella canceled all her meetings and stayed at the hospital with me, 24/7. She peeled my apples, fed me soup 1 spoonful at a time, and tucked me in at night. She was so gentle it was unnerving. Our relationship changed. Neither of us said anything, but a quiet, tentative intimacy bloomed in the sterile hospital room. I grew used to her presence, her care. Sometimes I'd intentionally think something flirty, just to see her blush. Ms. Vance, that dress looks incredible on you. Makes your legs look a mile long. She'd subtly pull the blanket on my bed a little higher. Isabella, this apple you peeled is so sweet. Almost as sweet as you. She'd grip the fruit knife a little tighter and pretend she hadn't heard. I was starting to really like this. My house in Maine, my dogs, my early retirement. They all seemed to be fading into the distance. And I found that I didn't mind as much as I thought I would. A week later, I was discharged. Isabella came to pick me up herself. We're going to the office, she said. What? I'm still a patient. It's important. When we got to the office, she led me straight to the main conference room. She pushed open the doors to reveal a room full of people. The entire board of directors and all the senior executives of Vance Industries. When they saw us, they all stood up. Ms. Vance. Isabella nodded and, taking my hand, walked straight to the head of the table. She sat down in the chairman's seat, then pointed to the one right beside it. You sit here. I froze. That was the second most powerful seat at the table. Me? Here? I don't think so. There's nothing inappropriate about it, Isabella said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I had no choice but to sit down, my face burning. The meeting began. There was only one item on the agenda: the future of Vance Industries and Isabella's personal life. An old director, Walter Bishop, cleared his throat. "Isabella, what you and Mr. Hayes have done, getting rid of a cancer like Caleb Blackwood, is a great service to this company. We all see that." Another director chimed in. "Indeed, we all misjudged Mr. Hayes. It's clear now that he is a man of hidden depths. To sacrifice his own reputation for you, Isabella, we are all deeply impressed." I listened to this, so embarrassed I could feel my toes curling inside my shoes. "Please stop. I'm not some noble hero. I'm just a guy who wanted to retire early." Under the table, Isabella squeezed my hand. Her hand was warm. Then she spoke, her voice clear and strong. "Directors, I've called you all here today to make an announcement." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. "My engagement to Ethan Hayes stands. We will be married next month." The room erupted in a chorus of murmurs and congratulations. I, on the other hand, felt like I'd been struck by lightning. "Mar married. Wait, that's not how the script goes. We had a deal. We solved the Caleb problem. We break the engagement, you give me my money, and we go our separate ways. What happened to getting married?" I stared at Isabella in shock. She was looking right back at me, a smile in her eyes and a look of expectation. "Isabella Vance, you have gone completely off script. Are you reneging on our deal?" After the meeting, back in her office, I looked at her, completely bewildered. "Married? Are you serious?" "I'm never not serious," she said. "But we had an agreement." "That was the old agreement." Isabella cut me off. "Things have changed." "What's changed?" "I've changed my mind," she said, her gaze pinning me in place. "I'm not letting you go. Your house in Maine, your dogs. I can give you all of that, but you have to stay." Her eyes were commanding, but sincere. I looked at her, and the arguments I had prepared died on my lips. "So, our partnership, is it still on?" I asked, a stupid grin spreading across my face. "It is," she nodded. "It's a lifetime contract." I looked at her, and she looked at me, and we both started to laugh. A month later, our wedding was the talk of the town. I, Ethan Hayes, the city's former #1 simp, officially married the undisputed queen of the corporate world, Isabella Vance. At the altar, watching her walk toward me in her white dress, the whole thing felt like a dream. Me, the guy who just wanted to coast through a fictional life, had somehow managed to rewrite the ending and marry the story's most beautiful, brilliant character. As we exchanged rings, I was overcome with emotion. "I can't believe this is real. I'm actually married. Isabella, from now on, I've got your back." Isabella slid the ring onto my finger, then leaned in close, her lips brushing my ear. "I know," she whispered. I froze. Wait a second. Did she just respond to my thoughts? She could still hear them. Later that night, after the wedding, we were lying in bed. Isabella was curled up against me. We were just talking quietly. I remembered what had happened at the altar, and a thought popped into my head. I decided to test it. My wife is so beautiful. No reaction from Isabella. I tried again. "Isabella, I love you." Still nothing. She just snuggled closer. A cold knot of fear formed in my stomach. She can't hear me, my thoughts. She can't hear them anymore. A wave of loss and panic washed over me. That strange, secret connection between us. Was it gone? As my mind raced, Isabella suddenly propped herself up and kissed me. She looked at my panicked expression and smiled. "What's wrong? You can't hear me anymore?" In my head, I asked, my voice small. "No, I can't," she said, her smile turning a little sly. "It stopped the day we got married." "Why?" I asked. "I don't know." She shook her head. She reached up and cupped my cheek, her eyes softer than I had ever seen them. "But I think it's for the best." "Why?" "Because." She leaned in again, her voice a warm whisper against my skin. "From now on, the voice I want to hear isn't the one inside your head." "Then what is it?" She looked me straight in the eye, her expression deadly serious. "It's yours, Ethan," she said, her voice full of a love I never thought I'd find. "From now on, whatever you have to say, I want you to say it to me. Out loud." "Okay." I looked at her, at the universe of stars shining in her eyes, at the face I had somehow fallen completely in love with. And I finally understood. The mind reading was just the beginning. It brought us together, but it wasn't what bound us. What bound us was everything we had survived, the trust we had built. We didn't need that superpower anymore. I leaned down and captured her lips with mine. Okay, I love you, Isabella Vance. This time, I didn't just think it. I said it. End.